Hello, welcome back to Mrs. Torres YouTube channel. Today we are talking about the Pythagorean theorem. So the Pythagorean theorem we use when we have a right triangle and we're looking for a missing side. So if we look at this triangle here, it says where A and B are the legs. The legs are the sides that make up your 90-degree angle. And the other side, C, is called the hypotenuse. That's our longest side, and it's across from our 90-degree angle, which makes sense, right? Because 90 is going to be our biggest angle. You can't have a 90-degree angle and an obtuse angle. So that's across from our largest side. So let's pretend like A is 4 inches, B is 6 inches. Now, I also want to say A and B are interchangeable. It doesn't matter which leg is labeled A, which leg is labeled B, as long as C is your hypotenuse. So we're looking for C. So we start with our formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We plug in what we know. So 4 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared. C is, of course, our hypotenuse. That's what we're looking for. We do some math. 4 squared is 16. 6 squared is 36. And then we add them. So we would get c squared equals 52. Now, you might know this answer since it was kind of already there. This is my second time recording this. We need to get rid of our squared. The opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. So the square root of c squared will leave us with just c equals the square root of 52. Now, there are two ways that you're going to give me your answer when we're doing the Pythagorean theorem and other things. The exact. Exact means simplest radical form. So we take 52, we make our factor tree, and we simplify it. So 2, 26, 2, 13. So that means the exact length of the hypotenuse is 2 root 13 inches. Now we can also have the approximate. Approximate means it's rounded. So in our calculator, we just type in the square root of 52. Hopefully you can see it. That might be a little better. If we do that, we get 7.2, round to the nearest tenth. So those are both of our answers. We have the exact value and we have the approximate. This is like rounded, so 7.2. All right, so we might not have integers here, right? We could have radicals. So let's look at another example. Let's say the hypotenuse is 15 yards, and one of our legs is 2 root 3 yards, and we're looking for our other leg. A or B, it doesn't matter. These are interchangeable. So let's set up our equation. A squared is going to be 2 root 3 squared. Now, when we write it and when we type it in our calculator, it's extremely important that the 2 root 3 is in parentheses. Plus b squared equals the square root of 15 squared. So let's simplify the right side first. The square root of 15 squared, we know those are opposite operations, so we'll just be left with 15. Now let's look at this. This is where a lot of students will make a mistake. Let's see if I can turn the light on. There we go. It's a little better. Okay. So we need, parenthesis, 2 times the square root. Now, if you have an older calculator like you have, or like I have, sorry, you're going to get a square root and then a parenthesis. So then we put the 3 in. We need one parenthesis to close this here. And then we need another parenthesis to close this original parenthesis. Now I have all of it in parentheses. We can square it and get our answer. If you're using one of the school calculators or you have a newer one, let me show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is a school calculator. So we still do open parenthesis 2 root 3. Now notice, unlike on mine where you get the other set of parentheses, your cursor stays underneath your square root. So before you close the parenthesis, you need to hit the right arrow, and you see how the square root kind of ended, and now you're outside of it. So then we put the parenthesis and square it. Oops. Square it. Maybe. 12. Now, let's see what happens if we do not properly, if we don't put in parentheses at all. So 2 square root of 3 squared without the parentheses gives us 6. Or if we do 2 root 3 squared, that also gives us 6. 6 is not the right answer. This first expression is what we want. We want all of 2 root 3 that squared, and we should get 12. From there, we got to get b by itself. So subtract 12 from both sides. We'll get b squared equals 3. We know the opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. So b equals the square root of 3. So we're going to get the exact answer is the square root of 3 yards. The approximate, we put the square root of 3 in our calculator and round to the nearest tenth, 1.7 yards. And those are both my answer. All right, see you next time.